Hello! Like many of you, I use old assets, try to repair them, try to use them in Max. It's not always straightforward, and there is a workflow that's required to get the older assets to work in Max. For instance, I've got these couple of assets here that I'd like to use, and as you can see, they're DNS textures, not PBR. So the first thing we'd need to do would be to change the textures. Whether the model's any good or not, well, that's another thing, but for the simplest method of getting something in and seeing if you like it is you have to change these textures to PBR. And the other thing we have to change is the name of the texture, because it would have to be color.dds, and the effect would be APBR basic in the FPE. So I was thinking about it, and the XNorm app is quite good at creating terrain textures. The difference between terrain textures and asset textures is the compression levels are completely different. So what I've done is I've built an app that's very similar to XNorm, but this app deals with asset textures rather than ground textures. So let's just open one of those textures. Let's do the bunk bed. So this is the DNS texture for the bunk bed. So let's just open that. As we can see here, it's not a bad texture, but this bunk bed that I've got is the one without the mattress. If you had the mattress, then fine. But what we can do is adjust the texture slightly, and I think I'd give it a little bit more contrast. Tiny bit more brightness, and the metal, I think I'll change the colour so it's a little bit rusty and worn. That looks okay to me. So this is the base texture I want to start with. So let's generate a normal map first. So we can either load an existing normal map or we can create one. 9 times out of 10 when you've got an old asset you usually only have the colour file. But the normal map for this wasn't that good anyway, so it's always best to just create a new one and then alter it to your standards. So this, I think that looks quite good. It's picking up the mattress, but this, I assume this here and this here is for the metalwork of the bed, so the mattress will be ignored. So let's generate the rest of the textures. Again, if you have an AO, gloss or metalness, these have to be in PNG format. You can load them, but for ease of use it's just easy to let the app create them, and there they are, they're done. So we know that we're not using the mattress, I'm just using the metal. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to increase the brightness of the metal to about 10%, and then the gloss, I'm going to smooth it out a bit so it's shiny. So again I'll go to about 10%. So there we have our 4 textures. Now I'll export them. Normal map, colour map and surface map saved successfully. So if we go back to the test folder, we can see we've got a new folder called xTextureWizard. If we go into that, we can see the bunk has got its own folder, and here's the new textures ready for Max. It also creates a folder with the source textures in, so that you can actually have a play with them if you want to. The other thing we can do now is if you go back to your original folder where you imported it from, this is the FPE for that file. If we check the FPE now, the app has updated the FPE to include the new texture, and it's changed the effect to APBR basic. Let's do a couple of more and then we'll try them in Max. So if we start this up again, we've done the bunk bed, so let's do the lockers. Again, I'll adjust the texture and just make the brightness a little bit brighter and turn the blue down a little bit. There we go, so that looks a little bit older. Apply that and then generate the normal. Yes, we'll create a normal map. Here we can just adjust this slightly. We don't need much on this at all. We don't want bent metal. There we go, so it's pitted and it's bringing out the vents quite well actually. So we'll generate those textures. Yes. Again here we'll have a bit more metalness in that because it is metal after all. And we'll make this a little bit smoother. And then we'll export the textures. Okay, so if we go back in the folder, go back to xTextureWizard, we can see we've got lockers in there now, and there's the textures. The FP has also been updated, so it now says lockers colour and it's APBR. The last one is the cart. If we look at this, we see that the texture is cart D and it's entity basic. So we'll do the cart now. So if we'll open the cart image, which is this one. Oh, that's very dark. Right, so the first thing we need to do here is increase the brightness. But if we increase the brightness, it'll go foggy. For instance, if I turn the brightness up, see that it's foggy. So let's just reset that image. Okay, so what we need to do is just take the contrast all the way up and it'll almost go black. Now we can increase the brightness. We should still have blacks, but the detail should start showing through. Without the foggy. So that one, just take down a little bit. And just take the contrast down slightly. There we go, that's better. So we can actually see the image now. So if we apply that and then generate the normal map. And we'll give this just a little bit. I think that might be too much actually. Yeah, that's way too much. Let's take it down to about 3. Because it is quite deep and we'll change the angularity. So this is the way the light bounces. So if we increase that to about 25%, we'll get more reflectiveness off the angles. That'll do. Generate the textures. And then we can, let's have a look at the AO. Let's just darken that a bit. There we go. Metalness we want to be black actually, so let's take that right down. We don't want any reflections on the cart. And the gloss we want quite rough, so we'll take that up not that much, losing detail. It's only as good as the original texture, and the original texture is not really that good, but we can make basic changes. So if we export them now, okay, we go back into the test folder and we've got the cart and there's the textures. The other thing is the FP for the cart should now be updated, which it is, colour and APBR basic. So let's go into Max and copy these across to our writable area. We've got Entity Bank, I think I've got a folder in there, yes I have. So here, what we can do is we've got bunk, cart and lockers, so let's create those folders. Well, we can copy these over. But what we'll have to do, each folder, just delete the source and the copy. Because we don't want the source folder in there. And lockers. Delete that. Now if we go back to here, we've got our BMP for the bunk and the FPE and the model. So we copy that. We'll put that in the bunk folder. Okay. Same with the cart. We need the BMP, the FPE and the model. Pull that in the cart folder. And finally the lockers. So we want the BMP, the FPE and the model. There we go. So now we can start up Max and see what those look like. Max will create the DBO, so it should just be able just to drag and drop in. So just edit this test map. Okay, so if you go to add, there's our bunk bed, cart and lockers. So the bunk frame, we'll put that in first. Just drop that in there. We'll add the cart and the lockers. Test that, and there we go, full PBR. There's the bed frame with just the metal, you see it's green and a bit dusty, and the card. Obviously the models, if the models are okay, the models are okay. The textures, we're not improving on the textures will still be the same textures, it's just that they're in a PBR format. But you can adjust them and change as necessary. So as far as this is concerned, the wood is okay, but I think the texture itself was only a 512 texture. But it's enough for scenery, that's fine for scenery. Again with the bed, it is quite nice. And you can still adjust, if you want to adjust the metalness. If we go to the materials here, you can still adjust the normal. It's picked up all the new textures, but you can adjust the metalness, the roughness, whatever you want. This app is just to allow you an easy way of creating all the textures required to get into Max. So I hope this has been helpful, and I'll be releasing this very soon. Thank you very much. Bye for now.